Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And do subscribe our YouTube and Telegram channels. Now let's start our discussion.
Welcome back to English Lecture Notes. Today we came up with the second part summary of the novel, Mill on the Floss, written by George Eliot. In our last video we discussed Mr. Tulliver's debt mounted up. Now Tulliver writes a letter to Maggie at boarding school asking her to come home. He then goes to see his lawyer Mr. Gore. At that time, the clerk hands him a letter which contains disastrous news. The owner of Mr. Tulliver's mortgage has sold everything to Wackham, making Wackham by default the creditor of everything Mr. Tulliver owns. At this news, Mr. Tulliver falls off his horse and gravely injures himself.
Mr. Wackham decides to take revenge on Mr. Tulliver by buying Dorlcote Mill and retaining Mr. Tulliver as his employee. This arrangement is very humiliating, but Mr. Tulliver complies in order to support his family. However, he asks Tom to swear, by writing in the family Bible, that he will one day take revenge on the Wackhams. After the bankruptcy, life at Dorlcote Mill is miserable. Tom works all the time, obsessed with earning enough money to pay back the family debts.
Just then, Mrs. Moss arrives. She tells the family that she is very sorry for her brother, and wishes she could pay back the £300 she owes him, but she and her husband would lose everything if they did that, and she worries for her 8 children. Mr. Glegg points out that if Mr. Tulliver goes bankrupt, they will be obliged to pay the money anyway. Tom says that he doesn't want to take money from Mrs. Moss. Since the loss of Dorlcote Mill, Tom has been lodging with Bob, and Maggie has taken a job as a school teacher. Tom works all the time, obsessed with earning enough money to pay back the family debts.
Lonely and desperate for companionship, Maggie begins secretly meeting with Philip in the wooded area behind the mill. Philip confesses that he loves her, and she tells him that she loves him too. However, after a year of these secret meetings, Tom finally finds out, and Tom angrily confronts Philip and makes Maggie promise to never see Philip again without Tom's permission.
A few weeks later, Tom tells the family that he has finally earned enough money to pay off the family debts by investing in a shipping venture with his old friend Bob Jarking. Tom explains that the creditors will be paid back at a dinner at a local pub. That night, Mr. Tulliver is elated at this victory. After 4 years of hard work and suffering, on the way back to Dorlcote Mill, he runs into Mr. Wackham and tells him that he refuses to work for him anymore. Mr. Tulliver's long-suppressed rage finally bursts out, and he brutally attacks Mr. Wackham, beating him with his horsewhip. Shortly afterward, Mr. Tulliver collapses and becomes very ill. Just before he dies, he tells Tom to get back the old mill. During a visit to Lucy's house, Maggie meets the charming Stephen Guest, Lucy's suitor and heir to the Guest and Company fortune. Maggie and Stephen are immediately attracted to each other, but attempt to repress their feelings out of consideration for Lucy and for Philip, who also visits the Dean household in an attempt to rekindle his romantic relationship with Maggie. Philip once again tells Maggie that he loves her and even persuades Mr. Wackham to sell Dorlcote Mill back to Guest and Company, making Tom the owner of the mill once again. But despite these attempts at reconciliation, Tom remains adamantly opposed to a marriage between Philip and Maggie. Maggie meanwhile continues to struggle with her feelings for Stephen and with Philip's increasing jealousy and suspicion. At a ball given at the guest house, Stephen kisses her arm and she runs away from him. While she is staying with her aunt Mrs. Moss, Stephen visits her and tells her that he loves her, arguing that it is wrong for them to marry other people if they love one another. Maggie continues to resist, telling him that she cannot ensure her own happiness by making others unhappy. One day, Stephen and Maggie take a boat out on the river on their own. Stephen deliberately rows far away from St. Ogg's and then proposes that he and Maggie elope and get married. Maggie is shocked, but agrees to take passage with him to Mudport. Mudport is a nearby town. Once they arrive, however, she leaves him and takes a coach back to St. Ogg's, despite his protestations that they have gone too far to turn back now. Back in St. Ogg's, a disgraced Maggie flees to Tom for comfort. However, he rejects her as a sister and tells her that he finds her behavior disgusting. Maggie thus takes lodging with Bob Jarking and her mother. She finds employment as a governess with Dr. Ken, the kind local vicar, but is an outcast in St. Ogg's. She remained unmarried. Tom stopped talking to his sister. However, she was supported by her mother Mrs. Tulliver. One night, after days of heavy rain, Maggie wakes to find that the river has broken through the dams, and she found St. Ogg's has flooded. She dashes to a boat and rows to Dorlcote Mill by herself to rescue Tom. Tom is astonished that his sister has come all alone to rescue him, and they have a moving reconciliation in the boat. As they embrace, however, they are caught in the current and drown. In a final part, Stephen, Lucy and Philip visit the shared grave of Tom and Maggie Tulliver, which reads, "In their death, they were not divided."
That's all for today. If you find this video informative, please do subscribe our channel and don't forget to click the bell icon to get the notification of our coming videos. Thank you for watching.